Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Victors Podcast. It's Rivalry Week, and if MSU wants to walk out of Ann Arbor with a win, they'll have to muster up one of the greatest bounce-back games of the rivalry in the 21st century in my book. So, walking into this game, these two teams couldn't look any different. U of M is coming off a huge win against number 21 Minnesota on the road, showing off every option it has in the updated Josh Gaddis spread offense, and MSU is coming off a loss to Rutgers riddled with turnovers and bad blocking and mistakes. Now, there will be overreactions from both sides, but the bottom line is Michigan crushed the Gophers with a dominating offense and a surprisingly good pass defense, proving they are a top 10 team. And Michigan State needs time to gel with Mel Tucker, and they honestly might only win 2 games this year. But that's kind of the gist of it. So I don't really think they'll go winless, because after what I saw in Maryland, MSU is straight up a better team. But I don't know, out of what I saw of Northwestern just destroying Maryland, I don't know if they can beat them either. So since the last video was so long, and we already really touched on the game, I'm going to try and shorten up a little bit and then do my score prediction. So, first, I don't think MSU will get most of their yards passing. I think they'll have to run the ball a lot. Michigan held Tanner Morgan to 18 of 31, 197 passing yards and an interception, and he was one of the best QBs in the Big Ten last year. He also had returning receivers Chris Autman-Bell and Rashad Bateman. Honestly, Lombardi didn't look that bad, but besides some very bad communication, it was blocking and fumbled balls that killed their offense. Michigan State does have receivers Jalen Reed and Jalen Naylor, and Reed had a great game coming in. He was a transfer from Western Michigan. He might be a junior or senior, and he had a great game besides the bad ball control. But on the other hand, Michigan's secondary has a lot of room to grow. After last week's game, out of what I saw of Daxton Hill and Hawkins, they did what seniors do on Michigan's defense. They showed up. They did their jobs. Hawkins finished with 7 tackles, 6 of them solo, and that was the best of Michigan's secondary. And then Dax was second in Michigan's secondary with the most tackles, and he finished with 3 tackles all solo. And Vincent Gray kind of surprised me. He had 4 tackles, and seeing him in coverage showed how much he improved from last year and showed how much more confidence he has. Jimon Green stood out to me, and I was high on him coming into this game. Into the Minnesota game, but he had great coverage, only giving up 1 long ball to Chris Autman-Bell, but he also played great coverage in the end zone against Rashad Bateman. So, the secondary is strong. As far as subbing goes, I think Don did rotate a little too much, and I know Dax did get hurt. I think the report said he got his eye scratched, and he got hurt in the second half, but Makari Page shouldn't have been in as much as he has been in. He's a freshman, though, and he did finish with 3 tackles, so he just needs to work on better angles and reading the plays better and a little better tackling. He kind of had delayed reactions because I don't think he knew ultimately what was going on all the time. In the run game, I honestly just can't imagine any big yard plays with that line. Taking into account Lombardi's runs, MSU had 50 yards on 39 carries. That is absolutely terrible to just put it out there. Not to mention they have good options at running back too, like Hayward, Simmons, and Elijah Collins all looked decent. 2 kind of like feature running backs. They could kind of break out, but the line is so pitiful that even some of the best backs would underperform in that game against Rutgers. Even that being said, Michigan's line and linebackers kind of got pushed around, and Kwity Paye and Aiden Hutchinson got caught up on sweeps and screens against Minnesota. When and if that does happen, when they get caught up on sweeps and screens, Michigan's free safety and corner needed to step up. They needed to come in and make the tackle, but that didn't happen a lot. So although it was the line get pushed around, even on the Minnesota would just run straight up the gut, and that was obviously the line's fault and Carlo Kemp's fault. But overall, corner and free safety need to step up. Overall, I think MSU will try to expose Michigan's run defense, and Lombardi will make nice throws, but I'm thinking this is really a 200-yard game for MSU's offense. And then offensively against Minnesota, Michigan had an almost perfect game. Besides the first drive, which stalled on penalties, Michigan didn't punt since the first drive, putting themselves in the position to score on 9 different drives from then on. In score, I mean field goal, touchdown, or whatever. They scored on 6 drives with 6 touchdowns, while Moody faltered and missed 3 kicks. Gaddis really showed us what he can do as a coach with great play calling, and we really saw a true spread offense. Joe Milton showed up. He was extremely poised, and it was kind of a glimpse of the great things yet to come this season if Joe Milton stands out. He had a QBR of 93 with 225 yards and a touchdown and no turnovers, which was really the main difference between him and a QB like Shea Patterson or Devin Gardner. We all know how much Devin Gardner fumbled and threw interceptions or turned it over in the 2014 season. Our offensive line was better, especially in the run game, which is so crazy to me. We had huge runs with the 70-yard touchdown by Charbonnet. It was a really simple play, but executed well. Basically, the left side of the line down blocked, so it made it look like we were doing a run to the left, and then we pulled the guard over to the right side to pick up the defensive end, while Mason had a great block on the linebacker. He came around and he just went right at him, and it opened up a huge hole for Charbonnet to get through. Haskins, Corum, Zach, and Evans were all utilized, having a complete rushing effort and outplaying that Minnesota defense. In passing, I like the dumps to Eric All, the screens, the sweeps, and post routes. As a unit, this is like so far better. Like, it is not comparable to the offenses we've seen under Harbaugh in previous years. Even the 2019 offense, it just looks so much more complete and better. And I don't think MSU's defense is better than Minnesota. Also, watch out for Milton's run game. And maybe we might take some more downfield shots. I know we had a few. I think we had 2, but they were overshoots. And one was a complete overshot, and that was early in the game. The second one was right in Giles Jackson's hands when he dropped it. So, for my prediction, I have Michigan winning in blowout fashion 55-20. I do think the Spartans were able to put up points early, but as the game goes on, our offense just completely overpowers them, and Don Brown's defense wears out the offensive line for MSU, and Don Brown's defensive line puts up huge numbers. But, if Mel Tucker coaches MSU to a win, that is completely astonishing. If he can win this game against a Michigan team that looked really good last week on the road, then I'm just going to say he's probably goated for the rest of the year, even in our eyes. Like, that's crazy. That would mean a meltdown for us, but for the Spartans, the Sparty fans, that would be huge for them. But I just don't think that's going to happen, and if it does happen, props to them. And since it is rivalry week and it's like kind of like a fun week and a kind of fun thing, I kind of want to bring something up that I've been thinking about. Like, when people try to say that Michigan brings up records from 100 years ago just to rely on them, that is true. And that's a normal, true thing that we do, and we shouldn't do that. But then again, in the past 50 years, we are still 34-16. So even when we took out like 50 to 70 years out of that, we still have 50 years left of us just winning more than half our games against you. And they were playing real football in 1970. But before I get a lot of angry Spartan fans in the comments, I totally acknowledge and wish we could have the domination the Spartan fans had from 2008 to 2015. 3 Big Ten championships, the playoffs, and a Rose Bowl, etc., and only one loss to U of M in that time. Now, that's what great coaches do. D'Antonio was a absolute great coach in that era. He'll probably go down as one of the best coaches at Michigan State, and he might go down not necessarily one of the best coaches of all time, maybe, but I think it's more about one of the best coaches, like what he did for that program of all time, like what coaches can do for programs, one of the best coaches in that sense. And let's not forget, in 2015, Michigan State beat literally, like, it could have been one of the best Ohio State teams of the 21st century or their history, like, up to that point. That it was crazy. Their defense, like I was talking about it with my brother, and we talked about it on the previous podcast, their defense completely shut them out, and it was astonishing. But for this game, overall, I'm excited, and it's all good-natured fun, and I just can't wait for the game. I predict it's a huge win for the Wolverines. I'm Jeremy Brown. As always, go blue and go Michigan.